5 types of toxic people that are better to avoid. Have you ever encountered people who, when they appear, for example, in your surroundings, change the entire atmosphere? It felt stuffy in the room, there wasn't enough air, and you just wanted to escape. Unfortunately, such people appear in our lives, and often they come to perhaps teach us something, perhaps to establish personal boundaries, perhaps to see in ourselves what is hidden in our subconscious. Yes, there are people who build relationships with toxic individuals for a long time without realizing that toxic people often reveal what is buried deep within us. So today we will discuss the types of toxic people that exist. But before we start the discussion, I ask you to click the subscribe button and like this video so that it gets recommended and more people can see it. So let's get started. What is toxicity? Toxicity is emotional immaturity. That is, a person sees everything, for example, only in black and white terms. They either see things as good or bad. A person does not see the whole picture. This is a kind of narrow thinking focused only on certain moments, and if, for example, a person who is focused on negativity, they will see only the negative in any situation. If a person is a victim, then in any situation, this victim will feel that they have suffered, that somehow the situation still concerns them, and they will again suffer and feel offended. So they do not see the whole picture. They only see the black and white, guilty or not guilty, bad or good, but cannot see the complete view. So what types of toxic people exist? The first is the victim. The victim is used to suffering, and yes, people often pity them, try to support them, thinking that the person has so much bad happening in their life, but in reality, the victim creates all of this around themselves. And no matter how difficult it may seem for someone to hear this right now, if a person wants to simply stop being a victim, they will do it. But being a victim is actually very convenient for some people because it allows them to, everyone strives to help, they are often pitied, and in this state it is easy for them to be. But is it easy for a victim to be? After all, they constantly project a bad depressive mood and are in despair, moving on in their failures. Everyone around is to blame. You will never hear from a victim. They will not say such a phrase as, I understood, I learned a lesson for myself. Yes, if I had not acted this way or that way, this situation would not have happened. No. In any situation that occurs in a victim's life, someone is always to blame, neighbors, acquaintances, relatives, anyone, but everything is directed at making the victim unhappy. Furthermore, they do not directly express what bothers them, and this is a huge problem for the victim. They are in a state of passive aggression. Perhaps they were treated poorly as they believe, but the person who treated them poorly may not even be aware of it. However, the victim is used to pitying themselves, and they begin to accumulate these feelings. They cannot tell the person that something unpleasant was said to them. She cannot try to stand up for herself because she does not know how to define her personal boundaries. She does not actually know where her personal boundaries are. That is, she initially allows a lot to be directed at her. Then she feels very sorry for herself and suffers greatly from her state. She invokes her passive aggression. She invokes even greater aggression from others. And she has even more reasons to pity herself, which actually reflects the victim's internal aggression. If the victim learns and simply wants to change her life, if she learns to establish personal boundaries and does not tolerate and accumulate this negativity within herself, her life will change. But this video is about the people with whom it is better not to spend your time. Otherwise, it is energy draining. If you understand that the victim does not want to take responsibility for her own life, then she will not change anything in her life. But being with her, she will constantly drain your energy, sharing her negativity with you, pressing on some of your internal triggers, and you will also want to pour it out. So the first type of toxic person is the aggressor towards her. The second type is the rescuer. The rescuer is the person who will find a victim even if you are not in a victim state. But near you appears such a rescuer who wants to help you with everything. He knows how things should be and how they shouldn't be, and he starts to get closely involved in your life. You may not have wanted this, but the person simply intervenes in your life. The person is just trying to save you from everything, and there are 2 possible outcomes. Either you gradually lose confidence in your own abilities because you do not solve your problems, do not go through certain stages of your development in life or some stage of personal growth. You gradually shift the responsibility onto the rescuer. After all, it is easier when someone else starts solving these problems for you. But over time, this becomes a trap for a person. He loses confidence in himself and his own abilities, cannot make decisions because he is now afraid and naturally self-esteem and confidence drop, and the person simply falls into the role of a victim, and everything else follows from there. Or if a person does not fall into the victim role and wants to remain in their state, does not want to enter the victim state, then in interaction with the rescuer, they constantly have to spend strength and energy to uphold their own boundaries and show that, no, I will handle this myself. I will make the decisions myself. But the rescuer really wants to solve the problem for someone else. Next, the judge. Well, surely you have encountered a person at least once in your life who knows everything better than anyone else. A person who will judge anyone. No matter what situation occurs, the judge will always find some negative hooks and condemn. They will condemn you, condemn someone else, condemn your relatives, friends, acquaintances. That is, this person is used to looking for negativity in the people around them. And what do? The judge is actually trying to raise their self-esteem at the expense of other people. And in fact, if the judge is around you for a long time, they can simply trample your self-esteem, because at some point they find not only flaws in those around them, but also in you. And they start to project this onto you. A person starts to doubt themselves, begins to doubt their self-esteem, and starts to lose their inner strength. In fact, judges are very insecure. By blaming everyone around them, they find even the smallest flaws in others and blow them up to cosmic proportions. And at that moment, the judge is happy. They are happy because in reality, they are very insecure and have many unresolved issues inside. But when the judge realizes that everyone around is actually so bad, the judge has inflated all of this, exaggerated these flaws to cosmic proportions, and now they are happy because they no longer see themselves as so bad. Inside, there are a lot of unresolved issues, but it's easier to blame everyone around. In fact, everything you hear from the judge is 99% about the judge themselves. That is, he brings out his problems, seeing in others his own unresolved internal issues, and he voices them. And in fact, just listen to the judge and detach from the idea that this is about you, your acquaintances, or your loved ones. You will understand what kind of person is in front of you. It's very simple. We often talk about ourselves through the lens of other people. Next, the controller. They need to control another person's life. Absolutely. Let's say to lead another person, to make decisions for another person. That is, the controller's partner is turned off, meaning a person who is not engaged in this life, who does not make decisions in their life. All decisions are made for them. The controller forces those around them to do what they need. And yes, the zones of control grow over time and aggression can increase to enormous scales. That is, the more zones of control, the more aggression. Next, the following type is the complainer, a person who sees everything in a negative light, and even in a good event, even in a good person, the complainer will find something to complain about. A person who is focused only on the negative. Furthermore, these people emotionally and energetically drain others like vampires. They suck the life out of you. It only takes a conversation with a person whose life is all bad. Everyone around them hurts them. Work is terrible. Family life is bad. The complainer's children are not raised well. Career growth is non-existent. Nothing works out. And the neighbors are very unpleasant people, and everything is bad for the complainer. And yes, communicating with such people, they will just drain you energetically. That is, being around such a person makes you feel suffocated, bad, and you have absolutely no strength for anything. In fact, complainers, just like judges, they project their problems onto other people. That is, judges, on the contrary, reflect themselves in other people, while complainers project and pour all this negativity onto outsiders. When a person from one of the mentioned types of toxic communication appears in your life, you need to abstract a little and understand the purpose of this person in your life. What does this person highlight that you do not acknowledge in yourself? Very often we cannot part with a toxic person. It could be an acquaintance or a colleague at work, but we cannot set boundaries. We cannot stop communicating. This person often appears in our lives to highlight the side of ourselves that we do not recognize. For example, you may not be in such an exaggerated light, but a judge appears before you. Yes, a woman in your company who constantly judges, and you seem unable to part with this person. This could be an important colleague at work or even a relative, but it all affects you deeply. Think about what purpose she serves in your life. What is it in yourself that you do not acknowledge that exists in this person? When you start to understand that there are certain moments and find them within yourself, then you become almost transparent to that person. There are no more hooks. That is, when you acknowledge this in yourself, you stop reacting to certain moments the way you used to. And now you are absolutely uninteresting to the toxic person because there are no hooks. He is looking for another victim in himself. Therefore, meet the toxic person. The first thing you need to do is understand the purpose of this person in your life. Secondly, it is, of course, to set boundaries. And if there is such an opportunity, it is better not to communicate with those people who drain and take away. It is always more pleasant to communicate with a person who energizes and inspires. That's all I have for this video. It was me, Alisa Vadomska. I hope for your likes and subscriptions. Write in the comments what you would like to discuss in my new videos. Don't forget to hit the bell, and goodbye, everyone.